Hi everybody, thanks for joining me today on my channel. My name is Chris with Kristen's Crafts, and today I'm bringing you an organizational video. In the past, I had several people that had asked for me to show how I put my composition book together that I use for storing some of my Christmas embellishments. Now, I cannot take credit for this idea. This was the brainchild of Janet with RTS Scrapbooking. She has a YouTube channel, but she also has a Patreon. Her Patreon is only $1 a month, so she's not making any money off of it, but puts out tons and tons of content. She just announced the other day that she has over 500 videos on her Patreon that you would have access to for $1. So if you're interested, check out Patreon. Again, it's RTS Scrapbooking, and Janet is amazing. So one of the things that Janet does is she stores her embellishments. Some of them are in composition books. Some of them she's done the same technique, but using 8.5 by 11 cardstock and then page protectors and a regular 3-ring notebook. So you can use whatever works for you. I don't do all of my embellishments this way. For me, I don't have the shelf space to have a lot of books. My shelf space is taken up with paper pads and albums and things like that. But for Christmas, that's a different animal because I store this away when it's not in use. And so this composition book stores with all my other embellishments. So basically what it is you take an embellishment or a composition book. I just got this probably from like Dollar General or somewhere like that, or I may have even already had it in my stash from when the kids were in school. And basically you go in and you're going to cover each of the pages with wax paper. And then you will use that to adhere your embellishments to. And as you use things and you have blank spaces, you can then go back in, and as you go back and store more items, you can go in and fill in the blanks to reduce the size down. As you can see, I've been making a concerted effort of using this, and so I do have quite a few blank spaces in here that I will go in and fill in. But this is just, I did this last year, and so for this Christmas, when I was working on my December daily and things like that, I really did try and make an effort to go in and use things that were in here. Now, I don't have chipboard in mine. Janet does also put chipboard in hers, but she does do that in a 3-ring binder with a page protector. That way, if they fall off, they're falling to the bottom of the page protector and not, loose in your room. I just have in here stickers and die cuts. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what I do. The first recommendation that I would make is that you use good quality wax paper. Don't go to the dollar store and buy the off-brand. I'm very much in favor of using off-brand stuff. However, we found that with the wax paper, for it to be able to remove, it's better if it's the good type, which is the Reynolds. Now, worst case scenario, your sticker sticks to the wax paper. It's not a big deal. Once you pull it off, you can cut the wax paper off and then just use your regular adhesive to glue it down. It's not going to interfere with you scrapbooking. There's nothing in here. If there's some wax paper stuck to the back of your embellishment, that's going to affect it. The only thing I would recommend is that when you're pulling them off, you pull them off a little bit more cautiously. You just don't go in there and muscle it off, because if you muscle it off, then you run the risk of it being creased or ripping. So like here's a full sticker and it came off fairly easy. This has been on here for a year, and I can just re-stick it if I decide that that's not what I want to use. So I already have some that are already done, but what I did was I went through and cut some more of my wax paper. I just took it onto my trimmer. It does twofold. It will sharpen up my blade on my trimmer, and then also gives me a cleaner cut for when I go to do this project. So I cut for my book these pieces at 7.5 inches. So all I do is I take a little bit of my ATG runner and I just run 3 strips going down. And usually I do it assembly line. Oh, of course I ran out of ATG, so we're not going to do assembly line. We'll just do one. So once I have my ATG down, I take my pre-cut wax paper. I'm just going to line it up with the spine of the book, and then I roll it out like so. Then I go back and I take my scissors and I just follow the edge of my book. Excuse my hand. And I just cut around the edges of the notebook. And I throw the excess away. And so what I usually will do is I will adhere in 3, 4, 5 pieces of wax paper. Then I go in with my scissors and I trim everything up. And it cuts pretty easy once you get going. And actually, I'm going to put this away because it's not in my way. There we go. So that's basically all you do. You're just adhering the wax paper in. It's not perfect. It doesn't have to be. You're just wanting a spot where you can put your stickers that you can then go in and flip through and find things. Now, the next thing I want to bring out is how I adhere these. And I don't have a sticker sheet offhand, but what I'll do is I'll just show you some die cuts. So what I have in here is just random things that I have cut out, and they've been in a box. They're a little bit harder for me to go through and pick from when they're in the box. However, when they're on the wax paper, they're more visible and they're a little bit easier for you to decide what you want to add to your layout. Now, another trick that Janet uses, which has helped me use up some of my older stash, is she uses the photo corners. And let me see if I can find my box. Okay, so I just have, these are thermal web mounting squares. I think you can get them at Walmart, all the major box stores. This is how I used to scrapbook. I no longer use these in my scrapbooking anymore now that I have my ATG. But I don't want to throw these away because, again, good money was paid, and they're still there's still good use for them. So basically what I'm going to do is feed this through. Well, I'll do that later. So what you want to do is you want to pull off one of your mounting squares. So I have one here. You don't need to use a lot, just one. And you're just going to put it on the back, peel the cover off, and it's just enough stick that now it will stick to your wax paper. And again, it will come off easily when you want it to come off, but for now, there's enough adhesive on there that it will work. This I'm going to put into my regular shapes. These are what I got from Moira, and I love those. But here's like another one that I cut out with my Cricut myself. If you get one that's too, let's say it's smaller and not big enough for a full mounting square, then cut the square in half. If you have big journaling pieces that are so big that one little square won't hold it down to your wax paper, then maybe use 2 squares. This one, again, is one that I think is generic, and I'm going to put that in my regular stash. Same with that. Here's a little cat. And so on those rainy days when you want to play in your stash, but you just you're not feeling creative, but you want to organize something, this is one of those projects that I think is a good one. My sister, she started doing this with some of her embellishments, and she did it when they were on road trips to go see her son in another state. She had a very long road trip, and so she was doing this in the car while they were driving. So she was still paying attention to her husband, but still getting a scrappy project done. Now, one of the other items that I have in my stash is some items from like Rosie Studios, where it's maybe a sticker sheet that's very thin and flimsy. Those I probably would not take off their original backing and put on here, but you could actually glue the whole sheet to here. Let me put you, excuse me. Let me put you on pause and see if I can find one, and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so these are from Rosie Studios. They are a company that is out of New Zealand, if you're not familiar with them. They ship out of China, and they have very reasonable price points for their embellishments. However, because of the reasonable price point, you will find that their items are a little bit thinner. So you can see here the stickers. They're not a regular cardstock sticker. They're a regular sticker sheet sticker. I could take them off and put them on the wax paper. However, I think when I would go to remove them, they would be a little bit more difficult. So here's a case where I can go in, and I don't even have to put it on the wax paper. I can stick it onto the area where it's just the composition book. So, oh, I forgot. I'm out of my... So if I just go ahead and I add some adhesive right to the back of the backing sheet, like this, now I can just adhere the whole thing to the composition book. So all those stickers were adhered down that quickly. So that's another way you can do it. Now I can just pull, they're still in the book. I can still flip through and look at them, but now they're just adhered in here. They're thin. And so now I can just, if I decide I want the deer, I can just pull the deer off from the backing, and I don't have to worry about, you know, the adhesive. So there you go. This is how I organize my Christmas die cuts, and these again are stickers that were on sticker sheets that were kind of used. Now I still have like my Echo Park where the sticker book, I'll leave these as they are. This is more for the loose stuff that doesn't have a home and I have to rummage for them, and this allows me to be able to go in and quickly flip through. So if I'm looking for a Santa, I can go through here and look and flip. Okay, I've got a vintage Santa there, but I want a whimsical one. Here's another vintage one. Here's one that's more of a classic, but I want, you know, maybe a humorous one, more cartoony. Here's more of a classic. I keep going. And here's a more classic Santa. And let's see if I can find a cartoony, whimsical Santa. And this is how you can just quickly go through all your stash and look for that item that you have in your brain that you want to scrapbook with. Whereas if I had been going through sticker sheets and so forth, I would have been taking much longer to find. Here's another Santa, but more classic. Here's a classic Santa, another one here. Oh, now I'm getting like the Coca-Cola Santa. Still want one more that's maybe cartoony. Oh, now we're getting to more of, here's more of the cartoony one. So I have a Me and My Big Ideas. I have another older one that was in my stash. Here's more of a cartoony looking one. So here's where I've been able to quickly go in and find some of my, you know, items. Here's another one that might be a little bit more whimsical, but you get the idea. And then here's the ones I just put in. I can quickly go in and find that item that I'm looking for. If I have a certain shade of red that I'm looking for, I can quickly go through and say, no, this is too homespun. This one is, you know, too country. This one's too pink. too blue, but you know what I mean? You can just kind of flip through and quickly get an idea of what you have, and you forget about some of the stuff. So as you're flipping through, you're like, oh, this works. And as you can tell by all the spaces that I have opened up, I was able to get quite a few this season onto layouts. And so it does work. It does make you see things that you wouldn't have seen if you had a rummage. So I hope that helped you out. And I want to thank you guys for stopping by. Again, check out Janet with RTS. I believe she has the composition books on her regular YouTube channel. And again, I strongly suggest that you become a patron of Janet. She puts out great content, and she's a great scrapbooker, great organizer, explains everything in detail, and I'm sure you would enjoy her as much as I do. Have a great day, and we will talk to you later. Bye-bye.